Today, Johnny Depp gave the jury the finger to consider. All through the first week of trial, we have been hearing about the bloody finger, and today at last it was Johnny Depp's turn to testify. Let's talk about what Johnny Depp said and about how it affects his defamation case against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. It's undisputed that in 2015, Johnny Depp severed the end of his middle finger while he was in Australia filming for Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Johnny's concierge doctor, Dr. David Kipper, and his private nurse, Debbie Lloyd, had both already testified, and they talked about the night when they received news that he had severed the tip of his finger. They were staying about a half hour away, but they were also in Australia with Depp, and they both came to the house where Depp was staying. When they found him, Johnny Depp says they cleaned out his wound, and since it was very severe, they took him to the emergency room. Now, Nurse Debbie Lloyd and Dr. Kipper went back into the house to look for the missing part of the finger. And Ben Keene, the house manager, helped them. Ultimately, Ben found it in the kitchen. Dr. Kipper says that he saw broken glass in the kitchen around the area where the finger was found. At the time, Johnny Depp told emergency personnel that he had severed his own finger with a knife in the kitchen by accident. But ever since June 2015, shortly after Amber Heard accused him of domestic abuse, Johnny Depp has said that he really lost his finger because Amber Heard threw a vodka bottle at him and severed it. He says he didn't tell the emergency personnel because he was trying to protect her. Today, he recounted what happened. He talked about the fact that Heard arrived already upset to Australia that day because she had been discussing a post-nuptial agreement with Johnny Depp's attorneys. And she kept saying to Depp, "I'm not even in your will," and felt like he was in cahoots with his lawyers to give her nothing if something happened to him. Depp locked himself in the bathroom to get away from her. Heard was screaming obscenities and knocking on doors, wanting a physical altercation. Depp says he was sober, apart from some marijuana. He says when she left the bathroom, he took the opportunity to go downstairs and pour himself some vodka and had 3 shots of vodka. Here's testimony about what happened.
Like this, in the chair, looking at her. First bottle went, then I got the other bottle shot. Takes the second bottle, which is the larger one. I'm in this position again, and my hand is on the edge of the bar, like that, you know, leaning over, the fingers like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. And I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. I felt no pain whatsoever. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt heat, and I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, you know. And then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed, and I was looking directly at my bones sticking out, and the meaty portion of the inside of your finger, and blood was just pouring out. And at that point, I think that I went into some sort of, I don't know what a nervous breakdown feels like, but that's probably the closest that I've ever been. Nothing made sense. And I knew in my mind and in my heart, this is not life. This is not.
Now, Johnny Depp says that after this incident, he had sort of a nervous breakdown, and that's why he began writing on the walls in his own blood. We've heard some about that, and it was not yet clear to anyone in the courtroom, at least from what was in the courtroom. It was not yet clear what that was about. He says he was writing down all the lies he had learned about Amber or that she had told him. I do hope they were really short lies. And to be honest, it probably would have been better if people had seen the handwriting on the wall right then. But instead, the marriage continued. Johnny went to the emergency room. He had surgery and pins inserted in his finger. Later, the finger became badly infected with MRSA, and filming was even delayed on his Pirates of the Caribbean 5 movie. He now says he has no feeling in the upper part of his right middle finger, and he's right-handed, so that is unfortunate. Now, let's talk about what this means to the case. I have absolutely no doubt that there was significant argument over whether this evidence would come in before the trial started. Amber Heard's lawyers would have argued it's not really relevant. And the reason it's not relevant is this is a case about defamation. And the defamation we care about is the defamation that Amber Heard said Johnny Depp was guilty of domestic abuse. The fact that Amber Heard was guilty of domestic abuse doesn't really play into whether Johnny Depp was. They could both be, and her statements be true. So they would say, okay, that's not really relevant. Then the other part of the case is Amber Heard's allegations that Johnny Depp defamed her when he said she made up the accusations that he abused her. Again, you could argue that this particular evidence relates to her abusing him and isn't relevant. But I am sure that the judge listened to and accepted the arguments from Johnny's side, because it would be very difficult in a situation like this to parse out fights where you only talked about how one side treated the other. It really is relevant, and I do agree with her decision to let that in. It was important evidence. But regardless of whether it's pertinent in legal terms, it is very impactful on a practical level, because the jury is going to be listening to this very serious allegation. This is actual mutilation of another person, and it has a lot of impetus behind it because Johnny is talking about something that there's evidence of. There really was a severed finger. His action when he put his hand and showed the jury how it got severed looks pretty convincing. That seems pretty likely. And so that physical evidence is very important to the jury. Up until now, what you mostly have is a he said, she said, with a few, very few witnesses to what happened. But here's a piece of physical evidence, and they will have to evaluate it and evaluate whether or not they believe Johnny Depp's story that it was from Amber Heard's bottle, or whether they believe his original statement to the emergency personnel that it was an accident from a severed knife. I think based on his testimony, they're probably likely to believe it probably came from the vodka bottle. But we'll see. That'll be up to the jury. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will see you in the next one.